Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Teddy with Caravan Film Cruise. You already know. I hope you're having a great day. It is Thursday, and every day is Monday for us who shoot full time. But which is a great day. I'm not saying it's a bad day every day. I'm saying Monday is work day, so that's us. But I wanted to talk about. The new Nikon Z line, the Z6, Z7, mirrorless bodies. I know I watched the very informative video by Tony and Chelsea Northrup, actually mainly Tony Northrup, but they went all in on all of the specs and comparing it to the top photography cameras in the market, which is the Sony A7, or basically the A line, but A7 III and the A7R III. And in our production company, Caravan Film Crews, for both video and photo production, we shoot mirrorless. I love the Panasonic line for video because I can adapt any lens to it. It is a champ of a workhorse. I've never had it fail on me or not be able to do it. We film in, the extreme blistering heat of Sacramento, and it's never overheated. I've been on rooftops filming in the brightest part of the day, the hottest part of the day. And so I don't know where you guys left off at, but we film with the Panasonic line GH Force, and I love it. Imagery is great. People try to knock it for its low light, but they're really only looking at the specs. If you shot Nikon like I did for a number of years, and Canon like I did for a number of years, you try to stack up its low light capability with those, especially on the FX or EFS sensors. The GH4 is going to blow those out of the water. It's a great low light camera in comparison to what many people shoot low light with, and it's mirrorless Micro Four Thirds sensor. It still performs great. I have no complaints about the GH4 except for all of the great things that they put into the GH5 and GH5S. Panasonic really listened to their consumers, came out with a brand new body right away, and hit the market, and killed it. I think the GH5, GH5S is the best video camera in terms of that small form factor, DSLR, DSLM kind of level, hands down on the market today, no question about it. As far as Sony goes, I shoot mainly photography with the Sony bodies because battery life is poor. The record limit on there is like 20 minutes. It's a little bit, the body is small, but the lenses are huge that you put on it because it's full frame lenses that you have to adapt to, or you have to put on there. So, the form factor and running all day with film is not the most ideal, choice for us. But for photography, I freaking love it. And I don't shoot any photography on the GH4s. I mainly shoot on the Sony A7R III, and a lot of the shooters I shoot with also shoot on Sony full frame bodies. So, in terms of mirrorless, that's the only realm we've been in for a few years now, and I love it. I can't complain. EVF is phenomenal. I can literally shoot the entire day without ever looking at the rear screen. If I don't want to, I can just look in the EVF and get all the info I need in there. But if I want to look at the rear screen and shoot with that, whether it's photography or video, I can do that, no problem. If you try to do that on mirror, DSLR cameras with mirrors in them, there's no way you're shooting photography looking at that rear LCD. And that rear LCD is also very It's very deceiving in terms of what your exposure is going to look like in the end. But yeah, so mirrorless, I mean, it's the latest technology, dude. Like if you don't think mirrorless is a step up, you're like one of those people that wanted to use rotary phones, or you like the big huge box TVs that you put your lemonade on. That's the kind of mentality you have. So anyway, back to the Nikon line. I just say all that to say, dude, I know mirrorless cameras. You know what I mean? Like in both aspects, film and photography. You're talking to somebody who does both for a living, and we just shoot mirrorless only. So back to the Nikon line. Now look, if you were to compare, Canon and Nikon, or Canon to Nikon in terms of its entry into the mirrorless market, I think Canon absolutely messed up with the Mark IV, the 5D Mark IV. Not to say that it's not a phenomenal camera, it is, but in comparison to the Sony line, you can't really hold a candle to that. Not with the 5D Mark IV. There's just not enough juice in that. And the codec for video, man, they really screwed up on that. And I think Canon's been a kind of brand that really appealed to its name and its brand rep, and you can't do that nowadays, dude. It's not happening nowadays. Canon needed to come into the market blowing everything out the water, and they really didn't. Cameras, frame, now with Nikon, they're a little bit different. See, because with the Metabones adapter, which is Sigma MC11 adapter, which my buddy uses, you can adapt Canon lenses to that, and you're pretty much good to go. Like there's no real issues, especially if you're using this Mark II L series lens. They work with those. So no, Canon shooters would just have to change their body to switch over to mirrorless. However, Nikon shooters, they really don't have a good option. Okay, if you've racked up a ton of Nikon lenses, you're pretty much stuck with that Nikon line, shooting on those lenses, or else sell all your Nikon lenses and go pick up Sony lenses and switch over to Sony. You probably wouldn't switch over to Canon if you're a Nikon shooter. There's really no advantage, even with the color science and all that, which is like, it's a very small trade-off, especially if you color grade all your footage, which we do. But Nikon, people are saying that Nikon really had to blow Sony out of the water on this go-around. I don't think so. I think they really just had to put something comparable out there that Nikon shooters would love to get their hands on, because I meet a ton of Nikon photographers. I mean a ton of Nikon photographers. The majority of they always ask them, if I'm doing video, that I'm always asking them, why don't you switch to Sony? And they're like, no, it's all. They're like, I can't, man. I got too many lenses. They can't. I can't adapt any Nikon glass to the Sony bodies, which is like so true, man. But so now that Nikon has a mirrorless line with the Z6, Z7, it's really just trying to hold on to the shooters that they already have in their their customer pool, I should say, or client pool. That's really all they have to do. You stop the bleeding. Nikon let go like 1,000 employees, I think 2 years ago. People really, counted them out. I don't think they're totally out just yet, but we'll see how this mirrorless line performs. And this thing, as far as specs go, it's really not a game changer. You'd still go Sony for a number of reasons anyway, outside of the specs, but it's a shot in the dark. I mean, it's a good shot in the dark anyway, but the thing is that Nikon should have, or Nikon just needs to stop the bleeding and then begin to build out their repertoire of bodies that they have, but more importantly, add on the glass that's available, for their mirrorless line. The thing used to be that a nice, chunky, heavy lens was a good lens. Like, oh man, this lens, I could curl this lens, and awesome. That means it's a good lens. That's not the case today, especially with Panasonic, Olympus, Sony lenses. A lighter form factor is huge. I love it. I love shooting all day and not, having that pain on the back of your neck from the strap on your like just weighing on you the whole time. I love shooting one-handed and just being able to swing around your camera like willy-nilly. You know what I mean? Like that's such a huge benefit to shooting mirrorless, especially when you do event and wedding photography, and you don't want a big heavy body and then have to attach a chunky heavy lens on the end of it and shoot all day like that. You just don't. Sony has done a remarkable, phenomenal job of making very lightweight glass that's high quality. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how Nikon and Canon did it for the longest time, but Sony did a great job at that. So, like I said, Nikon needed to stop the bleeding, which they did, but they really need to build out their arsenal of full frame lenses for that Nikon mirrorless line. Hopefully they do that. We'll see. Will I switch? Nah, I'm done. And I used to shoot Nikon and Canon, and right now other people are shooting with those bodies that I had and those lenses that I had. So I don't have any plans of switching back over to Nikon. Sony is awesome, and they really listen to their customer base. I think that's something that Canon and Nikon both lacked for a long time. I think they just got very comfortable, and they felt like they don't have to spend more money manufacturing a body that they're going to charge less for. And Sony completely flipped that and decided to go that route with all their stuff. And so, yeah, why switch back over? I trust this manufacturer to deliver, you know what I mean, in the future. I mean, look at the A7 III, dude. I was a skeptic because I have the A7R2, right? So I was a skeptic when the A7 III came out. And man, I saw like a review of Tony Northrup, which they do great reviews. So I always watch their reviews, Tony and Chelsea. But when I saw like the specs, dude, I was like, man, it's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. And I thought, well, I need a backup camera. I need to pick up a second body anyway. Do I spend $3,400 on an A7R III, which, am I really going to get that much more juice out of that camera? I don't know. I already got the megapixels, which I'm totally fine with. But picking up an A7 III, which has an incredibly high frame rate, great low light, all kinds of stuff, man. Touch to focus, all that great stuff. Picking up an A7 III for $2,000, that's a steal, man. That is a screaming deal. So, I'm not switching. At least I'm not compelled to yet. We'll see what Nikon does. It's hard to imagine just how much more innovative they can get at this point in time that people haven't already thought of or thrown out there. In terms of photography, maybe if they can up their bit rate, and maybe come out with a 14-bit codec but file type for photography, maybe that 2 extra bits might be really awesome. In terms of video, I don't think anybody, if they're not coming out with raw 4K in slow-mo or 10-bit 4K, if they're not coming out with that, you know, it's no point in switching over from Nikon to, you know, or Canon or anybody. It's from either Panasonic or from Sony. Sony for photography, Panasonic for video. At least for right now, that's what it is, and they just can't be beaten. I mean, positive, you know, A7S3 is going to come out. It's going to be phenomenal. Might even have 10-bit. If it does, oh my goodness. Panasonic still will have the advantage because you can use any lens literally, and you can also have very small, tiny lenses on your small Panasonic body. So they'll still have the advantage in terms of video, even if the A7S3 comes out and has 10-bit or raw codecs. But that would be the only thing that really would make anybody either switch over from Panasonic or, you know, 3. In terms of photography, though, I can't imagine what they can really add to a body, a full-frame body that Sony hasn't already done. And I think Nikon and Canon really have to hit the drawing board on this one to make a comeback. But yeah, those are my thoughts. The video's kind of long, man. I kind of just rambled, but if you're a Nikon shooter, be glad that they now have a mirrorless camera that'll accommodate your lenses. You can now shoot like the rest in your EVF. Guys, take it easy, have fun on the DMs and in Instagram if you want to collab. But yeah, holla.